evening, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Cynthia Manion Show. So please share this out so we don't want anyone to miss the great information that's coming out today, because I'm so grateful that you're tuning in live with us tonight or watching the replay. Because wow, if you haven't heard of my incredible guest yet, get ready, because he's about to share some serious wisdom. Gualter Amarelo is a best-selling author of Broke to a Quarter Million and Real Estate Alchemist, Get the Deal. The visionary founder of Alchemist Nation, host of its podcast, and a mentor who surrounded himself with over 100 millionaires, all committed to building 100 more through multifamily real estate investing. Yep, he's cracked the code with his 52 principles of wealth, proven systems of attracting money partners, and scaling deals in workforce housing via his real estate mastermind and Alchemist Growth and Income Fund, and turning perseverance into generational freedom. And he's got a whole new program coming out that you'll be the first to hear. Walter's story of turning his life around with mentors' teachings, it's the real deal, proving anyone can learn their way to success. Walter, thank you so much for being here. Your energy and strategies are exactly what we need to spread far and wide. Let's dive in and create some culture of winning. Woohoo! Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's very cool to be here. It's finally good to do this. We scheduled this a couple weeks ago, so I've been looking forward to it ever since.
Perfect. You're a busy man, and I'm very lucky that you're here. So, Walter, what sparked your journey from broke to building Alchemist Nation and committing to create 100 millionaires through multifamily real estate?
I snuck into an event when I was 28 years old. It was called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I snuck in, I didn't pay for any tickets, and I was in there. And I remember sitting down, the gentleman on stage said, if you feel like you don't belong here right now, you had better take the best notes and then go out and change people's lives with the information you're learning. Now, I didn't realize everybody was broke in the event too. Everybody was dressed in suits. They're very successful looking. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm the guy he's talking. He caught me. Like and I just took feverish notes and I made a commitment to make my first 6 figures. And then after that, like towards the end, he said, look, if you guys think I'm being of value up here, then there's a few of you who probably need to come out and be coaches one day, because there's just not enough of us. There's not of us teaching how money works. And if you found like nobody teaches you how money works up until this moment, maybe you know how true that is. And I was like, yeah, that's true. So he said, it might be for some of you, your purpose to go and teach others. And it really hit me in my core. So that's how I got to Alchemist Nation. Now, broke was a different story. How I got broke is, I don't think it wasn't too hard.
Well, Dan Ottmeyer's here, and he says, you're a winner.
I know
Woo-hoo!
Dan, and I know
Robert's
Rob. What's up,
yes,
guys?
you know Robert too from Ken Walls' Grow Life Academy. So we won't go into the broke thing because you've already taken care of that. So you are so far away from that. That's in the what do you call it? Rear view mirror.
I think that most people know how to do it, right? I went from being worth something to being worth less than I was born. And, there was a divorce involved. And I just look at that and say, okay, like I learned a lot of lessons, but what did I use from there? I went from making 17,000 that year I was in that event to making 115,000 that year. And then from that next year, 300,000, then 700,000, then 1.4 million. And then it just got to the point where I was like, this money thing's not as much work as I think it is. But it still is, because I double my income and I double my net worth every year, and I will find every year is just as much work as the year before. It's a lot of up here.
Probably more. Yes.
It is a little harder as you scale, because the things that got me, the things that make the 6 figures, it's like work ethic. That was really like work ethic. The quarter million, I was work ethic. Getting to $1 million was systems. Getting to where we're at today, where we pull in almost $4 million a year, that is so heavy in humans. It is human capital and management. It's like a totally different space. And in financial, just there's a lot more, because we have banks that we borrow a ton of money from. We're $25 million in loans right now, $36 million in real estate. So that infrastructure of how you borrowed that level of capital is different. Like the institutions operate differently. So yeah, anyway, long story short, it is different. but possible. It's just different skill sets. The same things don't really scale out very well. Hard work's only good up until a certain point.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you surround yourself with over 100 millionaires. So how has that network shaped your mission? And what's one key lesson they've taught you about wealth?
The most
Yeah,
interesting thing
yeah.
about surrounding yourself with millionaires is a quote that I took. It was focus on the best, surround yourself with the best, and then you will become the best. And by being around millionaires and then multimillionaires, the way they think about money and their time has been absolutely intriguing and counterintuitive. Right? If you came up broke the way I did, money felt like work and it felt like difficult. But millionaires and multimillionaires, they look at money as a game. Like it's fun. It's a game. Like, okay, this piece moves over here. I have this conversation with that person. I buy that asset. This guy gives me the money. This guy does the work. And okay, I'll go wash my hands, play with my kid now. So when you started this call, you asked me, you said, man, like you're doing so much. Do you ever sleep? And it's like, I sleep a lot. I sleep an embarrassingly large amount of time. So I just got up from a nap. I nap before podcasts.
Excellent. 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 Glenn Morshower, my acting teacher, and he's been on the podcast as well. He takes a nap in between time. So it's refreshing because sometimes you just need a little more to get that smile back and make sure that you are giving the words you want to give to your audience so that they can do it too and become a millionaire. Actually, these days we're going for billionaire status, I do believe.
It is
Uh,
true.
Tell us about your 52 principles of wealth and how, like how did you develop that step-by-step system? Because you said systems. And why do you believe anyone can earn their way to millionaire slash billionaire status?
That is cool. And the 52 Weeks of Wealth didn't come by accident. I read a lot of books. So I'm at 450 books that I've read over the last decade. And I took my favorite ones. I took like 100 books out to Las Vegas with me for 3 months. And while I was living out there, I was a nomad and a hermit. So I'm all over hitting every gym that there was in Las Vegas because I have to stay in shape. And I'd hit like one or two gyms a day. And then at night and midday, I would be writing and reading and audiobooks in the car, wherever I was going, like all my adventures and hiking through the desert. I would be thinking about these principles. And I got to like 100 and something principles that were very specific. Some of them I stole from this person. I stole a little from Napoleon Hill. I took them from anybody who had anything. And I just wrote them all down on a piece of paper, a big notebook at the end of it. And then I realized it would take me 2 years if I focused on one principle at a time. So I condensed it down to a year so I could build myself a weekly mantra, a weekly focus where I just focused on that principle all week long in my business and my life. And when I came back from Vegas, I was still teaching. I was teaching real estate traditionally. On Saturdays, I ran this boot camp of like real estate, how to buy houses, no money down, how to find deals, how to, raise capital. And the guys started asking me, I was like, yeah, they're like, what'd you do out there? And I was like, oh, I, put this program together for myself. And they're like, would you run it with us? So every Saturday for the last 6 years, I have done that with them, with this group. And that's how the 52 wealth principles, 52 books eventually got associated with them. And it became a culture, a tribe. Yeah. And that I know it builds millionaires because we've built 39 documented millionaires in the last 6 years. So it's not fast. It doesn't build millionaires like overnight. But over 6 years, 39 have been proven to be built through the system. So it does work.
Way to go. Way to go. That is awesome. So the first principle is think a million. How can someone shift from doubling or doubting that they can be a millionaire to knowing it's possible without just believing in themselves?
So I think a mutual friend of ours, Rami El-Batrawi, before he passed away, he
Yeah.
was in the mastermind with Ken Walls, and I asked him the question. I said, "Hey, how do you think at $1 billion? Like, what are the secrets?" And he said, "First, there's three." He said, "Step one, you must believe, and step two, it's got to be written down, and then step three, you got to tell everybody." So he hammered on believe. So I made principle number one, think a million. It's not just believe, it's also do $1 million math, right? Does this business make $1 million? That's principle two, is actually go and do that math. Can the business make $1 million? If it can't, don't start that business. So when I got into real estate, I said, is there anybody who's made $1 million in real estate? The answer is yes. Okay, cool. But there are some Etsy shops online where you go and you find a piece of clothing and you add a couple buttons to it and you sell it for, $80 more. That's not super scalable, and that's not a business you could sell one day for $1 million. So you must be able to exit the business at $1 million and a minimum, but the business must be also able to generate $1 million. In real estate, it's very easy. If you've got 100 tenants at $1,000 a month, that gets you $1.2 million at the end of the year. So I can just think 100 units at $1,000. That's like super simple math. And the real estate, has a real estate building ever been sold for $1 million? The answer is yes, all day to Sunday. So that business was easy. But my coaching business, my book writing business, I had 12 businesses. My property management business, a lot of them didn't pass the test. Although property management did, I wasn't the right person for it. So there's Think a Million is not just about I believe I could. It's almost like you got to go convince yourself by seeing other people who already have and look at those industries. Have they already done it? And if you can do that, I think it's a lot easier for people to believe. Right? I tell people don't believe it's possible because I did it. Go find somebody like you think is smarter or dumber or uglier or older or younger or foreign, like whatever you need to convince yourself that if that person could do it, I could probably do it. And that's kind of Think a Million, right?
Yeah.
You gotta think at $1 million. If the business can't get there, it's not gonna be worth your time.
In your book, Broke to a Quarter Million, you share your perseverance story. So, what was the turning point that proved these principles worked for a regular guy like you?
So it was, remember, I didn't teach anything and I didn't have the principles at Broke to a Quarter Million. I wrote that back in 2015. I wasn't a millionaire until, or I wasn't a multimillionaire until 2017. I was a millionaire in 2015, but it was only on paper. It was just, I was a millionaire, but I didn't have anything. Like it was like all tied up in real estate. I went through a divorce. And it wasn't until about 2017 that I was a multimillionaire that I said, I'm going to publish this book. Now, I wrote it 2 years earlier, but I really, really, really sat on it. And I can't say I worked on it. I had the manuscript sitting there for 2 years. And it was my brother who finally went through and said, bro, like this is good, but it's too Superman-y. You sound like the most inhuman person. He said, I know your story. I'm going to change it and I'm going to put the pain in there. So you see chapter 5 is in there, divorce and betrayal and my
Mhm.
climb back from having lost everything except for my family. I maintained my family. I maintained my integrity. But there was a moment I was sitting on a bucket in one of the units I was turning. I had 5 units at the time and they were all vacant except for one. And I was renovating it. My wife had just hung up on me. She said, I want a divorce. And I remember thinking, I'm going to take my life. I'm at the point where we're good. I've done all the things, failed at everything, and there's no reason to really continue this. And I asked God for a reason to stay. And I thought of my dad, I thought of my brother, and I was like, they'll be fine. And that wasn't a good enough reason for me. So I just, the weirdest moment, the
Sure.
stupidest thing. It sounds so dumb, but I was like, if I could help somebody else learn how money works, because that's why I'm here in this position right now. If I could teach them, then that would be worth it to me. And I said, God, just put somebody in my life. Like, give me somebody to show me how to get there. And then I said, even if you don't, I'll figure it out. And I promise I'll show as many people as I possibly can. I remember this light feeling of like I get goosebumps when I think about it still. Like I just felt lighter and I felt like a man of purpose. I felt like I had a reason. I had nothing. Nothing changed. I had still nothing. But then I felt this perception of
Everything
this
changed.
is I can now start something. Like now I've got a reason to go work and I've got a clean slate. And it was a perception change. I walked across the hallway to the kitchen and I looked out and I saw these properties and I said, I'm gonna own all of this. And
Woohoo.
when I do own all of this, I'll know that it's time to go and teach. And 3 years later, I owned all those properties. I owned the whole block.
Yeah, so you went from 50 to 509 to now you're at 6 something? Where are you?
So this is my third portfolio. So I bought up to 21 units and then I sold a few to get into a partnership. That partnership, we went up to 100 units. And then he and I decided he wanted to retire. And I said, I still want to grow. So we sold everything in that portfolio. At the beginning of this year, I handed him $1 million. And then I went and I just started building with my wife. And everything that I own is with my wife. People ask, do I have investors in there? I don't. I haven't syndicate. This is just me and my wife buying very intelligently. I have one partner. I do have one partner who manages 200 of my units. So
Uh,
yeah,
you have a special son helping you with, um, lawn duty.
he's working his way into the ranks.
Absolutely adorable. If you haven't seen that, guys, check it out on I think I saw that on LinkedIn perhaps, and you're
Yep,
teaching them how to, pick up the trash because you gotta keep America beautiful and the whole wide world. Clean up after yourselves, leave everything better than when you found it. I think that's an old Boy Scout motto, as a matter of fact.
that's right. That's when we move into a city and we start investing. Our rule when we pick up a building or we pick up a community is leave this better than we found it. So I know I've sold all my real estate the first time, the second time. So I know one day I'll sell this or my son will sell this. So I know that the rule is we've got to leave it better than we found it. If it's this way, we're going to make sure it's better because we came here, because we existed. We're just stewards. None, these buildings
Yeah,
were here before me. These buildings will
right.
be after I'm gone. But while I'm here, I want to maintain them. I want to take care of them.
Yes. Like we do of our bodies, minds, souls, and everything around us. Right,
Yes.
folks? Okay, so for beginners, Real Estate Alchemists Get the Deal is a playbook. Walk us through how to find motivated sellers and evaluate properties without risking all of your life savings.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, there's three rules in real estate. There's three major functions. You got deals, money, and labor. And there are a lot of gurus who will tell you if you bring a deal and it's a good enough deal, then the money's pretty easy to find. True and not true, right? The banks will finance good deals, but unless you've been talking about real estate, not everybody will know you're in it. So they're not just going to open up their pockets for you. So I want to just say that before I dive into this. And then labor, a lot of people ignore labor, but labor is how you keep your building cash flowing. So if you have a great building, you bought it wonderfully, it's all you're no money down, but your building isn't being filled, it's not being fixed, tenants eventually don't pay. So it's a really important part of the business, but you can't if you had all the money in the world and you had the greatest staff in the world, but you didn't have a good deal, you could still lose money in real estate. So the deal is the first part, and it is the most important part because we make our money at the purchase. Like I said, if you don't manage it, you could lose money. But if you buy it wrong, there's nothing you could do to save it. So you have to buy the property right. There are three easy ways to get real estate deals found, and then there are 100 really hard ways, like very difficult ways. The three easy ways are the ones I teach. So the first one is you call commercial brokers, real estate agents that are commercial are different from realtors who are residential. Residential brokers are just people who can pass tests. So there's a very big difference between a normal realtor and somebody who's a commercial realtor. The commercial broker, their job is to go out and find deals, and they're very good at it. Unlike normal realtors just know somebody and they list a house. So they don't really have like a whole arsenal of houses that are at a good price sitting behind them. So step one, call the brokers who are on Crexi or LoopNet. Step two, stay in touch with them forever and ask them what they've got in the back end. And step three is ask them, who do you know right now who's selling at this type of property and degree? And so there's that three-step process sounds simple. It sounds, no big deal. It's got to be something else. That's where all my deals come from. They all come from commercial brokers who understand my buy box, who understand my financing strategy, who understand my operational strategy. Uh, the harder ways would be wholesaling, like finding the seller yourself, pick up the phone, calling, mailing, texting, door knocking, driving by neighborhoods to see bad houses. Oh, the roof's down. Let me get that. I don't like downed roofs. I like the roof that's already good. It just has maybe a missing tenant or a tenant that's not paying. Do you know how easy it is to change that situation? If they're not paying, I evict them, and then 2 months later, I got a property back. But most landlords don't think that way. They're like, oh, eviction, oh, this tenant's terrible. It's like they're like, that's paperwork. Process the paperwork, move on, get a new tenant in there. So I like that. I don't like, fixing a roof is expensive. Fixing boilers is expensive. So I don't like those types of projects. And it's been a lot easier on the portfolio. We buy stuff that already has tenants in place that maybe are too low in rent or maybe not paying, or maybe there's some degree of vacancy. Those deals are not for the normal person. Like I would say, you have to have some level of operational capacity to do evictions and bring in tenants. But if you learn that process, or you hire a good attorney, it's no longer your problem. You can move right past it. And then the third way is go out to wholesalers and just have wholesalers do it. It's the same thing as a broker. A wholesaler's job is to find off market properties. All they do is pound the phones, email, text. Drive-bys, wholesalers are out there working for you. So find deals, find deals. Buy at a 20% discount. Buy with the opportunity to force appreciation, which means you go and fix the building more. So 20% discount, 20% force appreciation. Hold it for 4 years. The market will go up eventually over time, and that can get you at a 60% equity position in 4 years. But you do it at the purchase. If you overpay it, you don't get the first two.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't pull out your pencils and pens and take notes, you can catch this in the replay. Share it out. Those were some nuggets there. 1, 2, 3. You probably need to hear them again. 1, 2, 3. Or we'll tell you how you can catch up with Walter at the end here. Right? You got this? You got this. You partner with money partners for cash flow properties by investing in top cryptocurrencies. So how do you balance the real estate and the crypto for exponential growth?
Yeah, so we have a portfolio design that is 50% real estate, 25% lending, 15% equities, which I put crypto and stocks in my equities, and then 10% cash. And that portfolio gives us freedom and liquidity, so we can go and buy more real estate. The real estate is leverageable, so I can build that very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Stocks and crypto are not leverageable. I can't borrow from the bank and say, "Oh, let me take your money to go invest in stocks and crypto." The banks they're a hard no on that. And they're also a hard no on just cash. So they like to see that you're doing something with the money. You show them a house, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll give you 80% of that house. We'll give you 75% of that." So the real estate's a good place to start to grow capital. And then once you have capital, it makes sense to diversify a little bit. So we use our lending practice as a way to protect our capital but increase our cash flow. The problem with crypto and the problem with the stock market, they don't really pay out very well, like at a monthly rate. So we have a lending business where I put $1 million out at 12%. I make 120,000 a year, $10,000 a month every month. Clockwork, very easy. Crypto is an appreciation play. So if I have capital, I can put it in there. It's not leverageable, but crypto and stocks are an appreciation play. 10, 12% per year that they go up in value that I'm not taxed on because I'm not pulling them out is a nice strategy. We invest in our Roth, we invest in our IRAs to keep it low, keep the taxes at bay. Tell them 55 and a half, baby.
See
Coming
his
up.
mug? See his mug? Okay. And look at you roll. So what's the biggest mistake new investors make in single family or small multi-family deals? And how does your book help them systemize and scale quickly?
It's a good question. So the biggest mistake that any operator in real estate makes is not having two exit strategies. So the only way you lose money in real estate is you over leverage yourself and are forced to sell in a down market. But if
Mm,
you hold the property long enough, the market always recovers. It eventually comes back. But if you are over leveraged, where your money capital stack, your cost of money is more expensive than what you're pulling in from the property, then how do you hold it? Right now you're bleeding and you have to feed into that. So I've seen operators who are doing 10, 20, 15 flips at a time, and the market turns. If a market turns for 3 or 4 months, there goes all their profit. They still have the carrying costs. So that they should have filled those units and rented them, right? So I was going to flip 25 houses, but now I'm renting 25 houses. That's the second exit strategy, is the rent refinance, because many of these guys are in 15% loans, 18% loans. You can refinance and get down to 6 and 7 and 8%, but they don't think ahead. They're not feeling that side of it. It takes us 2 to 3 months to do the paperwork to get to a refinance.
mhm.
So they sit on the sidelines waiting for this property to sell. 2 or 3 months, they realize it's not, and then they wait another 2 or 3 months. And now
Wow.
that carrying cost can just eat away any kind of profit. So the biggest mistake I've seen guys make is not have two exit strategies. My first exit strategy was rent and refinance, always a safe one. My second exit strategy is sell one day if I feel like selling. If the market goes up so much that there's too much equity sitting inside that property, yeah, okay, I'm not going to be a pig. I'll sell it. Right? Waiting, like trying to get that appreciation, is where people get hurt. Right? If I can sell it and it makes more than it's going to make in 5 years, I'm going to sell that building. Like if the rents are 100,000 a year, it's what I'm taking in, keeping. It's my cash flow, and
Mhm.
I can sell that thing for 600,000. It's done. It has no position in my portfolio. There's no reason for it to be there. I can take that money. I can jump 5 years into the future, take it, roll it into a building that's four times the size, and increase my cash flow 2 or 3 times.
Woohoo.
So
Ah,
it's
go ahead.
math. There's a little math, but
A lot of math,
that's
a
how you
lot of
don't get
you
mistakes.
must be a great chess player.
Me and my dad used to play when I was a kid. Me and my brother used to play when my dad wasn't home. So me and him would get better when my dad would get back. And I remember the first time I beat my dad at chess. It was a cool feeling. I thought he tried. My dad was like, "I will never ever let you win, son. If you won, you earned it. Trust me." He's like, "I'm not that nice.
Did he play
I
with
love
you
you
after
too much
that?
to let you win." Of
Did he play with you after that?
course. Oh
Oh.
yeah. I didn't win the second time, right?
I remember the first time I beat my dad in ping pong after decades and decades, and he never played it with me again. I was like,
We still get together for Christmas, Thanksgiving when we do, the chessboard comes out. After the dinner's done, like the chessboard comes out, me and my brother take a turn beating him or playing with each other. It's yeah, it's a fun little family tradition. Chess is still a big part of our lives.
that's fabulous. And see, I think we should all start your grandchildren and children at just now. Alchemist Nation's real estate mastermind focuses on a Midwest workforce housing. Why is that a niche, and how do you source deals for community revitalization? Yeah.
It's a very good question. So I grew up in the East Coast and I did a lot of real estate in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And after a little while, I got priced out. So my model of, if the property goes up too much in value, I'm not gonna be a pig, I'll sell those. Eventually I got priced out where I just couldn't buy anything that would cash flow. And so I stopped buying for 4 years. I stopped buying real estate. I retired. I went to Florida and hung out there for 4 years, teaching, coaching, building this community up. And 2 years ago, I said, I'm going to buy something. I'll buy something small with one of my mastermind members. We'll buy a 35 unit out in Decatur, Illinois. And we bought it. It was operating well. He did really good. And I said, I'll do another one with you. What's the next market? He said, Jackson, Mississippi. I got 80 units. So I flew out there and I had told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to go buy 200 units, just me and you, just so you and I have a future. Cause I only had 50 units now with my partner and my other 12 that I had. I said, we'll just do this one little thing for you because now we have a kid and I want to make sure I've got something for him, like no matter what. And from that point, we moved to Cleveland because the market said Cleveland, it said Jackson, Mississippi, it said Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it said Memphis, Tennessee. Like there were these markets, 9 markets that were just cash flowing. We call it the 2% rule in real estate, which to simplify is if rents are 750, you can buy something that's 2 times rents times 10. This sounds complicated, but that's basically a 2% rule. So let's say $1,000 per rent per unit. I can go and I can pay about $50,000 per door. So if I take that 2% of 50,000, it comes down to $1,000. Most people in real estate are trying to buy around the 1% rule. So if it makes $10,000 a month, 1,000 a month, they're saying I'm going to go pay $100,000. I looked for markets that beat the 1% and went for 2%. Imagine I'm getting the same rent, but I'm paying half the price.
Oof.
And that's why I chose these 9 markets. They are hood. They are very hood markets. These are not waterfront properties. These are in the ghetto. This is, let's call it difficult areas to manage. So my mastermind's gritty. They're operationally strong. They can handle these types of investments, and they make the money that's paid in those markets. But we turn the neighborhoods around. Like that's why the Midwest. That's why workforce housing. And to answer the question, because what I just described sounds painful, right? It sounds like why would anybody do that?
Well, someone has to do it. Might as well be you because you're helping people.
It's easy to refinance. The cash flow's there. Somebody has to do it. And what we found is that I would rather a tenant who needs to be there than a tenant who wants to be there. Because in a down market, they don't have to be there anymore. This type of tenant doesn't have another place to go. It was actually when I flew out to Jackson, there was a woman who had her little 8-month-old son, which is interesting because my son was 8 months at the same time. It was
Oh,
20 degrees outside. It was 20 degrees inside. And she had blankets on the walls, on the doors. And I asked, like, what are the blankets for? And she said, well, there's no heat in the apartment. I said, well, it feels warm here. Why? It's a little warmer than it is outside here. Because I went into one of those rooms, it was freezing. It was cold. I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I got the heat on through the stove. So I have the stove open and I'm heating the house with the oven." I said, "Why are you here? How long has this been like this?" She said, "It's been like this for 2 months." I said, "Why are you here?" And she said, "I can't go anywhere else. I have Section 8, and there's no way for me to go anywhere. Nobody will accept me. I've already put my money in for this, and I have to stay here." So I left that apartment. I told my student at the time, I said, "Man, we gotta go buy this building, right? This because this guy's out of money. I know the guy who owns it is completely wiped. He's got nothing. He's not renovating anything. He's slowly going down in occupancy, which is dangerous. The more you go down, the more vacancy you have, the more vandalism you have, the more squatters you get who move into the building, the more dangerous the building becomes for tenants and family members like this. So we realized we had work to do, and that's why we're still out here doing this. You know, I say this to everybody, like, "Oh, how many units you're gonna buy? Like, how much is too much, Walter? You're just like you're greedy. You want all this money." It's like, no, man. Like, if the market stops accepting my offers, I will not buy anymore. I retired already. I'm good. I'm only back in operations because there's 40,000 units right now that are down like this across the country in these states, in these 9 major cities. There's a lot in other places, but these 9 are the worst. So we'll keep operating as long as people accept our offers. That means we can make money profitably turning these buildings around. We're going to do it. If ever they stop accepting my offer, Cynthia, I will stop buying. I'm ready to stop at any moment.
But meanwhile, the poor lady with her oven needed you to come fix it and make her have heat. So you're
Yes,
doing
heat.
big service because that's not funny.
No, she has heat. She's got air conditioning now because in Jackson it gets hot. In fact, my guys from Cleveland flew down there this week, and one of them said, he said, "Bro, like I know what you're talking about, this community thing." Because I always tell him, I'm like, "Yeah, we're build communities, make it better," and he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we'll see." He flew down there. You see the kids playing. It's a gated community. We gate everything in. You see kids playing in the yard. It's at 58 tenants, so it's filled up from what it was. There was only 19 when we moved in there. There's plywood everywhere. Now there's no plywood. It's units a turn. They're being fixed. We got 9 left to go. And he said, "Man, I'm a believer." He said, "I see it. I get it. I know what you're doing." Like he said, I understand the mission now. So it was really impactful that he's down there today.
That is beautiful. And Highland Serrano, we love you
It is
too.
lit.
Yeah, yeah. So, Walter, explain the Alchemist Growth and Income Fund. How does it provide safe, predictable income through preferred equity and bridge loans for investors?
Wow. Okay. One, I will say no investment ever is safe. Lending is not safe. It's high risk. What we do is we lend on the safest asset class that we could find, right? We talked about flips earlier. Those are very dangerous right now. House prices are staggering. They're going up and down. Real estate, multifamily has tenants in it already. So there's cash flow coming in every single month. So that creates a layer of safety or stability for us. The bigger the building, the less likely any type of vacancy event can have an impact on us. So we protect ourselves by going after bigger buildings that have more security built into the idea of stability. And then our financing structure is non-recourse loans. So our investors, our lenders are getting into something where if the bank says for whatever reason they don't want to be a loan to us, they can't come against me personally. It's non-recourse. So as an operator, I'm much safer to them than a single family flip where it is recourse. So if that flip doesn't go well and you don't make your payments, the bank will go after that person. And now you're in
Yeah.
trouble because that one loan they didn't pay. Now everybody's in trouble. So we create a lot more stability by having that. And then our investors, our lenders are in against a first or a second position on the property, which creates another layer of security and strength to it. But the best part about our fund is we pay every single month. So there's cash flow every single month. And the rates are anywhere between 12%, 7%, depends on what level of risk they've taken. We have 3
Mhm.
different options, the 7, 9, and the 12. And they have paid out monthly for the last 16 years that we've been operating, whether under the fund structure or under our own individual loans. I've never missed a payment in 16 years.
Hallelujah. Hey.
It's stability,
Hey.
right? It's about
Yeah.
consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how he sleeps at night. So
I
you
have a
offer,
lot of team.
well, that's a good thing. Thank goodness. And you have a beautiful wife and child. So you offer
Yeah.
sales promotions, you offer financing and appraisal services. How do these all tie into your coaching aspiring investors to achieve financial freedom?
So we started off with the coaching business as a means to be impactful. That was really the intention. What it drew in were investors and people who wanted to partner, people who were bringing deals. And so we switched over to this consulting firm that says, okay, like if you're doing enough of this, that's where this
Mhm.
idea of 100 millionaires, we said, well, what do they really want? They really want hands off. Like that's where, like millionaires are an interesting group.
That's what they think.
Work their butt off their whole lives to not have to work their butt off ever again. And so, like, millionaires don't like coaching programs as much as they like, will you just take care of this for me and build my wealth for me? And so we realized we were doing a lot of DIY. My content is like, hey, go do it yourself, knock yourself out, book, here you go do it. Your program, here you go do it. And then there was the mastermind, which was this done with you. It was like, hey, we'll kind of, educate you, guide you. You ask us questions, we give you some guidance, make some connections, and that was really the done with you. The AGIF, the consulting became done for you, and done for you really is like, we'll go in, we'll make sure the appraisal is right, we'll make sure that the property is inspected properly, we make sure that the financing that's put in place is proper, and we do take a piece of those transactions. So we stay on as equity partners in it. We get an acquisition fee, we get a management fee, and the guys we're working with and the gals we're working with are like, I don't care. You're making money I wasn't gonna make. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
yeah, right. Teamwork. So it came out of necessity. It came out of the more we built this audience of higher net worth individuals, because we still have our, let's call them brokies, the newbies, the people coming in. That group doesn't want this service, nor can they afford it, nor would they even know what to do with it. Whereas
At
this group is, they're very specific. Like they're very, very they want to be hands off. They're smart enough to know whether you're doing your job or not, but they really don't want to be super involved. And we just give
Mm,
them the time back. People buy time as they get wealthier.
mhm, sure. It's the most important resource.
So that's how
Uh,
we ended up our hands in a pest control company, appraisals, inspections, insurance, like all of that was through the consulting firm. And the easiest way to save people money is vertically integrate and take all the expense inside.
yeah, that's where I went into the sleep part for you. It's like, there's a lot of moving pieces here.
I
What's
have
one principle?
4 very hardworking partners.
Obviously, you probably need more. Going for the
We
billion.
We're past the partner point, but we hire A player staff, and we give them a very cool bonus at the end of the year. And if they stick with us for 5 years, we do give them some like an equity bumper. So that's how we figured out how to get A play staff. Like we were getting a lot of B players, and we're A's, but you think you'd attract A's, but A's really want equity. They want to be owners. They want to cut. So uh,
Mhm.
that's something we're rolling out this year, is to give that equity cut to the guys who are working with us.
That sounds like a good program, guys. If you are interested, you know where to go, and we'll put up his where you can reach him. If you don't know where you can find him
Oh
already,
no,
he's on all the social platforms. So
we're not hiring.
there you go.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yep.
What is one principle that's not about chasing shiny objects? How does staying boring in investment lead to massive wealth? And what's an example from your deals? One
Boring
principle,
principle.
yeah, not chasing the shiny objects, stay,
Simplify. One of the
simplify.
wealth principles is simplify and cut back. So in order to build wealth, you must earn income, you must save money, and you must invest. But that step before invest is simplify. Cut back expenses before you invest, because investing does take time. It does take, going into things. And I don't say simplify all the time. I think most people, like I know me personally, I'm a saver by nature. So I grew up, what can I cut? What can I cut? What can I? So very good at cutting things out, but cutting things out doesn't get you investment, because you need to go and increase income. You need to spend 99% of your time increasing income and investing. So I say once a year, when that principle comes around, it's one of the wealth principles of the 52. When it comes around, it's like, take this week, go and cut subscriptions you don't need, go and cut insurance policies that are too expensive that you can bring down. Go look at your water bill. Can I replace all the toilets from 5-gallon flushes to 1-gallon flush? Doesn't sound like a lot, but with 100 units, that's 500 gallons every time somebody flushes. So you start looking for those simplification processes. But then some of it is, it's as simple as do I need to be a part of that mastermind and that mastermind, or can I just, is there one that's better than both these combined? Do I need to be going to 3 different gyms? Maybe it's just one gym, maybe I cut some of that out. Some of it is friends, right? I look at some of my relationships every year and I'm like, wow, hold on. This person's been on the call with me a lot this week and I'm not feeling better after it. And I'm doing a lot of this vampire draining, like energy draining relationship stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna simplify my life. And we've done it in the coaching business as well. We used to teach how to wholesale property, how to find off market deals and sell it to other people. We found that group to be very draining, just a very difficult body of people to work with. And so we sliced them out one year. We said, yeah, we're not going to teach that course. Here's another guy. Go to this guy. He teaches that stuff. So simplify can be in a lot of different arenas. I had 12 businesses. We sold 11 of those businesses, focused 100% solely on this mastermind, on this multifamily side of things. And we cut the mastermind out as a separate business. We said it's a department within the multifamily business. We just made it a department. Got rid of all the LLCs, got rid of all this extra noise and all this extra stuff. And we said this right here has its own bank account because it's appropriate for that, but it doesn't need to be a separate business. We're filing taxes every year on it. It's a department of education. Just like Honda doesn't have their training branch as a separate, company. It's just Honda training, become a Honda certified technician, right?
Patricia's jumping in with time is value. Make better use of time. She agrees with that. Thank you so much, Patricia, for joining us. Patricia's up in Canada, and she is an artist, a drummer, a philosopher, an angel, a photographer, a mastermind genius. Yeah, she's one of those. Angel.
Well, hello, Patricia.
Yes, yes. And I only have the best guest on. We were just looking her up, and she was on supporting me back on my 12th podcast ever. And now you're number 90 by accident. Woo! Being consistent, staying with it, keep following your dream. How can listeners attract ideal partners like magic for real estate deals using your strategies to draw in money and expertise?
As within, so without. So you want to attract great partners, be a great partner. That was a difficult lesson for me. And I get asked this a lot. Hey man, like, okay, I'm looking for partners. Well, what do you bring to the table is the question. What are you as a partner? Do you do all your deals morally, ethically, legally? Do you cut corners? Do you take the short road? Will you bleed for the portfolio if necessary? Will you stay up later? Will you get on the plane last minute and just make that call? Will you do those things? If you won't, good luck attracting a partner who will. My partners are
That's
willing to do
life lesson there,
everything I'm willing
guys.
to do.
Life
Yeah.
lesson. That's for everything, not just real estate, not just yeah, that's life. Life. You got to put in to get, got to give more. Blood, sweat, and tears, or else you're not there to play the game for real. Pick another
Yes.
one. Actually,
Play
go
play
back
at the highest degree. I also like to make sure all my guys and gals are hitting the gym hard every day. So that is a requirement of mine is, will you go and take care of your body? Because I'm not going to get in a partnership for 9, 10 years and you disappear on me because health issues. It's like, no, dude, like we're taking care of ourselves all the time. Are you taking care of your spouse? Right? If I find out they cheated on their spouse, like that's a no bueno for me because you cheat on them, definitely not cheat on me. Like it's not even a question, right? So I look at character, and yes, skill set has to be there. I'm not going to give somebody equity in the deal because I like them or they're go to the gym. They must be better than me at the task that I'm giving them.
and Jeffrey
Jeff
Wilson
Wolf,
is
good to
truth.
see
Yeah.
you, brother.
Hey, Jeff. And thank you, Patricia. Yes, partnerships. Yes, yes. It's so true on every single level. So you've made millionaires already. What's a success story from Alchemist Nation that shows the power of your copy and paste system?
It is right. It's all documented. It's all follow and do the work. Uh, More recently, there's a gentleman. His name's Vincent. I just found he's my newest millionaire. That's why it's super fresh in my head. I
Very
found
fun.
out 2 weeks ago he's hit there. He's at 1.4 million, and Vincent went a very
Congratulations,
slow
Vincent.
path. Right?
Shout
So
out
he
to
went a slow
Vincent.
path. He bought 4 properties, managed them very well, and then he's done a couple of flips. He's been a passive partner in some flips. He's been a lender in some cases. And over time, the secret is this: buy a deal a year. Right? If you buy something every year that's bought really, really well and you hold it long enough, The real estate does its job. It does it for you. So Vincent took him 4 years. Saeed is another one. Saeed was one of my first millionaires. He had a $250,000 net worth when we started, and after 18 months, he got to $1.5 million net worth. And again, he didn't buy one house per year. He was buying 2, 3 houses a year. So he was very, very aggressive in his purchasing style. But he bought with the 20% discount. He'd force appreciation. He'd fix the units up. So force appreciation by 20%. And you do that in a market like Massachusetts, those percentages are pretty big.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. My son's in Boston, as a matter of fact. In your podcast, you interview high net worth individuals. What's a recent episode highlight on wealth creation or impactful contributions?
We had a gentleman, Eric Bone, on the podcast 5 weeks ago. Eric owns 5,100 units worth $1.1 billion.
There's your billing in.
And so he's very memorable. And Eric, he's also an impact guy. So he has 2 dogs, and his dogs are search and rescue dogs. So when 9/11 happened, Eric was flown out there with his dogs to find people. And the sad story with that was they didn't find anybody. So the dogs were getting depressed, and they would have to go and have a volunteer pretend to be found. So the dogs would be like, "Oh, look, we're doing work out here. We found somebody."
Oh.
More positive story, when the hurricanes happened in Florida, he lives in Florida. So he was on site, he was there searching, and they found a lot of people. So that was one of the interesting things about Eric is dude is a multi millionaire and phenomenal operator, but he trains these dogs to save people's lives. And that's something that's close to his heart, and he loves doing it. Another fun fact about him is he runs a marathon every year. This year, he's running all the top marathons in the world in a single year, but he wanted to hit 50 marathons before he was 50, and he turned 50 this year. He already did it. So now he's running the top marathons in Paris, and he's done Boston a number of times.
Wow.
And so he's a very, very just in alignment with how I believe. He's on the podcast. He told me he's getting closer in his faith in his older years. He started coming around back. He grew up Christian, but he came back and he said, this is really, I think, where I want to be. Just more spiritual in his age. So that was an impactful conversation for me. He gave me one piece of advice that stays with me. He said, "Here's how." Because I asked him, "How do you flip 200 houses a year? Like, how do you do that?" And he said, "Well, we just, we have a rule that's 6 weeks, and we're in and out." I said, "Yeah, but how do you stick to 6 weeks?" I mean, best flip I did took me 5 months. I don't know if there's a 6-week flip in me. I'm not a flip guy to begin with. We turn 40 units a month. But he said this. He said, every flip we did in the beginning, he said I've been flipping since I was 19 years old, so that's cool. He's got years on him. He said, every flip, we ask ourselves, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? And how do we improve? And he said, we just document every single project, every single unit, every single flip. And over time, we built these really good systems. He said, that's how we get there. We have standards, and we just don't deviate from the standards. So I thought that was,
That's a great system for your life, ladies and gentlemen. 1% better every day. Think where you'll be at the end of the year.
Let me give you the words that he gave me 3 years ago when I first met him. He said, you get what you manage for. He said, in life and business and relationships, you get what you manage for. The first time I heard it, it didn't make any sense to me. The second time I heard it, didn't make any sense to me. It was, a year into him saying this at all the different events I'd see him at. He'd come up and speak, or I asked him, hey, well, what piece of advice? Like, well, you get what you manage for. And only recently have I realized, we're managing right now for a 1,500 portfolio. We write down the goal. We ask what we would have to do to get there. And I do this with my staff. And we actively are managing towards the cap stack, the deal sourcing, the teams we'd have to hire, the management programs we have to put in place. And I'm seeing it now that 650 units, how do you get there? We managed for it. We literally managed for, this is how it looks. And this is what would have to be in place for it to exist healthily, like in a healthy manner. With everybody getting paid, happy, with sleep, right? Like, how do you do all this and still sleep? We managed for it. We made sure that Gualter's sleep wasn't going to be affected by this. There's a management process for that. So I credit that to Eric Bone. So he's that was a transformative sentence. Yeah, I
I'm
didn't get
impressed
it 5 weeks ago. I got it 3 years ago.
that hey, you got it and you're doing it and you're playing chess with the big guys. And I'm gonna say hi to Jake. Thanks for joining us from the down under. We appreciate you. You can do it down there too. For someone stuck in a job with the bad mindset, how can they start part-time in real estate? Following your steps to flip or rent houses for more money fast. Maybe they need a little, jolt to their life. It looks like you might have some good magic here.
There is no overnight success, but
Well,
if real estate is your thing and you really wanna get there, my thought would be surround yourself with people who are already actively doing it. So the RIAs, Real Estate Investor Associations, where I started, just walked into the room, guy knew nothing about real estate, and everybody around me knew something. So I just asked questions. What do you own? How'd you get there? What do you own? How'd you get there? If someone didn't own anything, I didn't ask them any more questions. So I just kept moving around. What do you own? How did you get there? What do you own? How did you get there? And that was how I built confidence. I just found the guy who was shorter than me, found the guy who was older than me, found the guy who was uh, people from outside of the country gave me a lot of confidence. When I found the guy who was an ethnicity, clearly didn't speak good English, and he owned 5 units, I was like, how'd you do it? How did you do it? Right? That helped me quite a bit building confidence, was people who I felt were less advantaged than I was. When I met a woman who had more real estate than me, I said, how did you do it? What advice do you have? Because I hear that women have a harder time in this business. Now I need to know how you did it, because I'd like to do it your way, because you got way more than me and you're fighting all these disadvantages. Sign me up for your course. Like, what is that? So that's my piece of advice. Find people who are doing it, actively doing it, not people who, not has-beens, not I did at one point, but people who are actively operating. uh, they have a lot of information. And the smaller a person is, the easier it is to talk to them. The bigger a person is, the harder it does become to get their attention. So if they're running events or they're at networking events, that time is slated for talking to you. So getting them off of the events, that can be a little bit harder. But if like they're at a networking event, they've got nothing better to do than talk about whatever you want to talk about. Something to keep in mind as you're looking for knowledge.
right. And ask, like Mark Victor Hansen's book, ask.
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 Yes. I had him and Crystal on my podcast a while back. Amazing.
Yes. Oh, they're so lovely. They are so lovely. Crystal they both been on my podcast. They were amazing. Crystal more recently. Mark was like on my first one, I think. Yeah. You in 2 weeks you've got your annual 100 Millionaires Summit coming. So what
Yes.
breakthrough and attendees experience in network and learning, and tell us about that, because that's really exciting. And then you go to Disneyland World.
Then I go to Disney. I was telling you I want a nap right afterwards, but 3 days of networking with millionaires. There are 50
Woohoo!
accredited investors. So there's a difference between millionaire and accreditation. So accredited investors are millionaires, not including their house. Millionaires can't. So non-accredited people can be a millionaire. You can have 600,000 equity in your property that you live in. Technically, you're not accredited. So accredited investors is 50. There's 20 more millionaires that'll be there, and there's 30 slots open. That's filling in. Next 2 weeks, we'll find out who personally will actually be in attendance. I know for sure 70 of our millionaires and accredited investors. So what are they getting? It's a lot of strategy this year. There's a lot of like what's going on in the market, what's going on with our 9 markets, what's going on in real estate as a whole, what tax strategies are available. The goal is for everybody in that room to not pay taxes in 2026. So we're going to have our work cut out for us, because they still have 2 months left where they can actually, there's strategies that they can do no matter how much they made this year. There are strategies they can implement to not pay taxes in 2026. Even though the year is almost done, there's still time to remove that. So we're talking about that. And then entity structure, making sure that they're in the right entities to protect themselves if something happens. I've been sued 3 times in my life, and I learned a thing or two around how to avoid that in the future, and how to prevent and protect yourself if ever the threat of a lawsuit does come out. Because imagine 655 tenants, something will happen. At this point, at this size, something will happen, and you want to prevent and prepare for that. So we're bringing in our estate planners, our trust attorneys, and then how to invest with the stock market, with funds that are in the stock market. And you kind of want to, if you're heavy in the stock market, you want to separate some of that. You can invest using your IRA in real estate, and it is all tax free. So there's a lot of different strategies that'll be in the room that we're going to be. We brought in the professionals. Like, these guys are, and gals are, literally, this is what they do every day. So it's not like me teaching this stuff. It's them specifically talking about how does a cost segregation work? How does this deferred sales trust work? Which everybody knows what a 1031 is, but very few know what a deferred sales trust is.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of hanging out, and they're also building their plan. So we're building it with them. I'll be walking around the room. That's why it's not too many. We're capping it at 100, but I think there'll be just under 100 there, so that me and my other consultants have time to walk around and build the plan together.
Wow. It's gold. Gold.
Yeah.
So how do you advance every person you meet? Like, what's one simple habit from 52 principles that anyone can implement this week?
That's a powerful question. So I believe in the law of advancement. So advance everybody that you come into contact with. The strategy that I have found with everybody, I'm really looking for. I'm like, what is this for sure? I'm questioning my own soul. Is this the right one? And it is. Ask them where they're going. Ask them where they're going and what they want. And if they have a place they're going, you can probably offer something. But to provide value to every person that you meet, you have to look them in the eyes and ask them where they want to go. Not everybody's value is going to be what you think it is, so you have to listen. And so
Surprising.
that
Yeah.
that power of asking the question and listening gives you the guidance of what to do next. Sometimes people just need to be heard, and there's just nobody's listening to anybody anymore. So you just take the 5 seconds to listen to somebody, and that in itself is adding value.
Gold.
Also, sales 101, ask questions, listen.
Actually, life 101, you can't learn if you don't stop and listen.
One of my books, Broke to a Quarter Million, I said the biggest lesson I learned out of my divorce, not my divorce, the divorce I went through, experienced, grew through, was listen. When you think you're listening, stop and listen. It was a very powerful lesson for me because I thought I was listening to her and I wasn't. So I do that
Mm,
now. I listen better.
mm. We can all listen better, even and catch yourself being in the moment instead of, even though you're listening, thinking about the past or the future or what you're going to do in 5 minutes. No, you got to like be in the moment. You got to be in the moment. In the moment. You've compressed teachings from mentors into your system. What's one mentor's advice that changed your trajectory forever besides the two that you've already mentioned tonight?
If I were to give one more, right?
Mhm.
If I were to dig back, there was somebody at a closing table. This woman was very intelligent. Now, she was one of the wealthiest people I knew at the time, and she bought in one auction 5 houses, and it was part of the block I wanted to own. And I went up to her. I bought one of the buildings, then I bought a second building from her, and then the final building I was buying from her, I asked her, I said, "What piece of advice would you give somebody young like me who's just kind of getting started, who really wants to get to where you are? What piece of advice would you give me?" And she said, "Buy whatever you can, wherever you can." And at first, I didn't quite get that. But over time, I've discovered what that means is buy anything you could hold forever and that you can actually manage in locations you have control over. So buy whatever cash flows wherever you are capable of managing. And that's why you don't see me investing in a lot of places. There's 2 markets I invest in because I have a team in both markets. The opportunity is great there. The population is over 150,000. So I know those markets are fast enough for me to get more inventory. And I just took that advice and I've scaled since. I was 28 years old and she gave me that piece of advice. I'm 39 now, so I've used it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, Walter, what's next for Alchemist Nation? New books, podcasts, episodes? You've got a big thing on the way. How can audiences join? Tell us your closing remarks.
I love
And
it.
take
So we get a book coming out called Return on Equity Blueprint. So we call it the
Ooh,
ROE Blueprint. And if you want access to the technical side of it, so the ROE Blueprint's coming out sometime next year. But right now, I have all the documented steps and processes for private lending, for evaluating properties, for return on equity, finding out how to get the best return. And it's in a book called, or a booklet. It's 42 pages. It's not the full size book. No stories. It's just cut and dry. Here are my principles of lending, of evaluating deals, of evaluating your portfolio. That's called Be the Bank, is that training. And I put a 6 module course together. I put the manuscript in there, and then I have a virtual live training I do every single week at 5 p.m. EST. So you go to roeblueprint.com, fill out the small questionnaire, and it gives you access to all of that inside your email. And that's the easiest way to say, hey, I want to do something with you in the future, because those questions tell me, call them, don't call them. And I promise if you fill that out, I will call you. So be careful.
And you have a couple books out. Eric, can you put up what Broke to a Quarter Million or Get the Deal? Here's a good one.
There it
Get
is.
the Deal. In fact, you should get all the books. Amazon bestseller. So that means you can get on Amazon. Is it an Audible?
Yes. I will. Not this one. So Get the Deal is 300 pages. Broke to a Quarter Million, 150 pages. I read that myself. Get the Deal is a project one day I will do. Names on Deeds is another one, more workbook style. So that one day, I'm probably going to rewrite some of that based on what I'm seeing over the last few years of mentoring in the multifamily space. But yes, one day coming soon, Audible for all the books.
Yeah. Yeah. What fun. Yeah. I just did my second book in Audible and I'm looking forward for it to coming out. Savannah
It's a lot
Seeds.
of work, Cynthia. I don't think anybody understands how long it takes.
I love it. I love it. I went up to upstate New York and they said, and I booked the studio for 2 days, and there's like, no way you can do this book in 2 days. And you've never done this before. And I'm like, yes, but I've been preparing, right? And I had read the book with Jeffrey Wolf, as a matter of fact, we had studied it. And I have been drinking tea and doing vocal exercises, and I hired a voiceover guy for once a month because it took me that long to do the homework. The next one, and yeah, and they said, "Well, you're gonna have to come back and do 2 days." Yeah, so I did it again. It was so much fun, guys. And then you like learn how to breathe better, and my podcast is better. I think my voice is getting better. Everything is, and it was so much fun. And then I hired someone to do Black Pearl Love Letter to the Ocean in Spanish. So that's done. So that should be coming out because I was like, how can I sell more books and what market and and Spanish? So no brainer, right? So
Habla español, mi amigo. Mi
yeah.
amiga.
Yeah, well, you have been a real pleasure, an absolute pleasure. You guys, you might have to listen to this a couple of times to get all those nuggets, and then you can follow up and let him know, because if you are on his A-lister list, you can do this. Not kidding. So thank you so much for joining. Share this out, the Cynthia Manion Show. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are. Share it, make wise choices, be a great person, and be kind. Thank you.